Hey guys, and welcome to Bloo Makes Christmas in 24 days. This is day 15's video, and it's part of the collaboration Gifts from the Home that's being hosted by Tina over at Life at the Piedmont Homestead. Come with me, I'll show you what I'm about to do. Okay, so being the holidays, one thing we tend to have a lot of around the house is chocolate. Of all descriptions: dark chocolate, milk chocolate, white chocolate, caramel chocolate, all sorts of flavoured chocolates, whatever. But I tend to have a lot, and I mean a lot, of just plain chocolates. Plain bars of chocolate that tend to be in my pantry from year to year, and I find that this is a really good way of not only using that up so that the new stuff can, sit there in the stock for the next few months if I don't use it, or it's just a good way of rotating everything. But it's a great way of making gifts for people as well. If you're on a budget and you're having to think of ways to make gifts with things that you already have. One of the major things that I'm doing this year is I'm using up all of our old stock from the pantry before I even buy new stuff. These candy canes are actually from last year. They're fine, there's nothing wrong with them, and I thought that they would make a really, really good addition to what I'm doing now. When I do the peppermint sticks and stuff. So yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm just taking the plastic cover off first. Any that are broken are going in the bowl, they're not going to get wasted, and any that are fine and in one piece will get put in a little cup so that we've got them. But it's always good while your chocolate is melting, and yes, that's my slow cooker. Okay, that's my slow cooker with about 5 bars of chocolate sitting in there now in the bowl, melting. And it's a brilliant way of doing it, can I just say. And it just means that I can put it in there, not worry about it, don't have to watch it over the stove, it's not going to burn, none of that, while I do other things like, I don't know, peel candy canes. Now, there's a lot of bits and pieces that I have floating around the place that have been in the Christmas box since last year, really, and all of it's good. It's all been checked, it's all good, it's not a problem. Most of it is just sugar and sugar and sugar and sugar and more sugar. So it's good, it's fine, and it'll live forever. Now for my gift packs this year, I'm doing 4 different varieties or 4 different styles of hot chocolate stirrers and cups and sticks and etc. So I needed a lot of chocolate, but I'm actually doing not just the dark chocolate ones, I'm doing milk chocolate ones and white chocolate ones, so people have a variety, there's something there for everyone. This first one is actually really quick and simple, and anyone can do it. The kids could do this one. Okay, they really could. The kids could do this one. But first off, what you need to do is you need to plastic wrap or coat a baking tray. It's very rare I use plastic wrap. Mostly I use parchment paper or wax paper or baking paper or whatever you want to call it. But working with chocolate, I just find it easier. I have an aversion to having melted chocolate on me and cleaning it up, and it's just easier for me to wrap all this up and just put it in the bin. So not only are these ones really easy for the kids to make, but they're really meant for the kids as well. These are just little bit of chocolate on a spoon, nothing over the top. The spoons are little wooden ones rather than plastic. I was able to get them from Tanny's work, thankfully. They're about £3 for 100, which is kind of cool. Yeah, because I didn't have any plastic spoons, and I didn't really want to buy any. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to get rid of all the plastics, to be fair, so this was a better option for me. So all we're doing is we're just filling the spoon with a bit of chocolate, laying it on the tray, and then all we're going to do is add sprinkles to them, and they're done, literally. So then you can leave them where it's a little bit cooler in the house. I wouldn't suggest having to put them in the fridge. Your fridge is going to be full enough of holiday stuff as it is. The last thing you're going to want is trays and trays of chocolate stuff stashed in your fridge as well. Of course, though, pet owners, having chocolate around, make sure that it's somewhere where the animals aren't going to get it, especially the dogs, because no one wants to clean up that mess. I'm pretty sure at least one of us watching this, apart from me, has seen what happens to a dog when they eat too much chocolate, and trust me, you don't want that on Christmas. You certainly don't want it the week before Christmas. Trust me, it's just not fun at all, at all. However, if you are a person that likes leaving stuff out and you have pets and you believe that, you know, that's fine, that's not a problem, can I just say carob, which is used for dogs' treats, is a bean, and it is known as Arabian chocolate. And carob is beautiful, and it's wonderful, and it's a great alternative. You can buy it in meltable beans, or buttons or whatever, or bars even, and it's a great option as well for those who have friends of the family who are actually allergic to chocolate. And trust me, there is such a thing. So just before we take these off to go and sit and do their thing, we're going to just pop some sprinkles on them before the chocolate gets hard on the top. The outside of the chocolate will always set before the inside of the chocolate, so you know, just be aware. So if you are expecting to put sprinkles and things like that on your little spoons, you need to make sure that they're there pretty quickly afterwards. And that's literally it. And if nothing else, you do nothing else, you know, having half a dozen of those in a little baggie, people are going to love. They're going to love them, you know. They really are, and they're actually becoming really popular. Now, I've seen these at Christmas markets and places, food markets and stuff like that, and they've been selling them for like $5 each. Can you imagine? $5 each for one of those. You're kidding, right? People don't need to know. It's all good, you know. Make them yourself. They'd be awesome. So now they're in the kitchen and they're up high drying, setting. We're going to start on the peppermint sticks. Now these are really basic. I am going to use my silicone chocolate molds for these, and we're just going to 2/3 fill each mold with just chocolate. The point of these is that they are really simple. They don't take a lot of effort, and you can pretty much pick up and put down in between times and do several different things while different chocolate is setting, and you can do 4 or 5 different things at once without really losing too much concentration, which is really cool. Now onto these ones, we're going to put a few mini marshmallows that will stick to the block of chocolate. We just want to make sure that they're a little bit pushed in, just to make sure that they're going to stay. Now I tried at this point to actually put the peppermint stick in, and can I just say, bad idea. Really bad idea. Don't do this. Do not. The chocolate's too hot. It's not going to solidify anytime soon. Okay, you need to wait until they're half set before you put the canes in. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting there for hours trying to hold these things up. Trust me, it's not worth your time. Don't do it. So if these are at room temperature, they usually take around 20 to 30 minutes to set. So at around 15 minutes, they should be set enough that you can put your candy canes in them to be the little stick part. So you just want to keep going with the marshmallows until all of them have got some on them. So with these, just be aware that you do need to make sure that the mold is only filled 2/3 of the way up. The very first one I did, which is in the top left hand corner, is filled to the top, and it means that everything's sort of spilled out and it's not as great. I can't put as many in that one as I could with the others. Next I'm going to do a little hot chocolate bomb, but it's also a peppermint stirrer. Okay, so first of all, what we're going to do is use our little silicone mold that's a little bit different shaped, and it's a little bit bigger. It's about the size of a muffin. Okay, so it's about the size of a muffin, and we're going to put around about 1 centimeter or 1/2 inch of chocolate at the bottom of each mold. Now first off, you can try and, you know, turn the molds around so that the chocolate will go up the sides, because you want the sides coated in kind of a medium thickness, not as thin as a chocolate, like truffle kind of chocolate, but not as thick as a bar of chocolate either. You want to have, you know, enough that it can melt and be crunchy but still hold things inside it. So I have little paintbrushes in my kitchen that I use for jobs like this, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to pull the chocolate up and paint it up the sides of the mold, because it's just easier that way. And once you've got all of those done, you're going to leave them away somewhere safe for them to dry out and set. Now you want to make sure that the base has a fair decent amount of chocolate on the base of it as well, but just pull up chocolate from the sides for the others, just to make sure that those sides are not too thin, and just layer up that chocolate on the sides a little bit. Now the fourth one we're going to do is the sharing stirrer or sharing pot, or the cocoa bomb for the person with the really big mug. So I had some plastic cups that were around from, you know, parties and stuff like that. They're the last ones that I've got. I'm hoping that next year I'll be able to find some silicone molds about the same size or something similar that would be much better to use for this purpose, but for now these will work. Also, the waxed paper ones work really well as well, so paper cups work just as well, and if you've got those, then use them rather than the plastic cups. But these are what I had and had available, so I'm using what I have. So I'm doing the same with these as I did with the silicone molds, the muffin sized silicone molds. I've poured chocolate into the base, and I'm using my paintbrush to pull the chocolate up the sides about 2/3 of the way up the cup, because I think that would be enough, to be honest. The bigger the cup, the thicker the sides have to be, so be aware of that, because the more stuff we will be putting in there, and we don't want that to collapse in shipping or in just ambient room temperatures where it could soften. So as you can see by these ones I've finished, I've pulled the chocolate all the way up past the bumpy bit on the cup. There's a ribbed part on the cup, which is where you're meant to hold the cup, and I've pushed the chocolate over the top of that, so it's going to have a little bit of texture on the outside of the chocolate, but you want to make sure that those sides have got decent thickness of chocolate on them. Meanwhile, our spoons are ready, and I'm going to use these little Santa bags, cookie bags, sweet bags, whatever, to package them up in 4s, because the households these are heading to have got 4 people in them. They've got mum, dad and 2 kids, and that's literally pretty much every house that I'm sending these to. So they're going in little packages of 4 in these little baggies. Now I bought these little baggies, oh, I don't know, last year probably. Just didn't end up using them, so I'm using them now. But I tend to find stuff like this during the year or whenever, and even if I don't have plans to use it that year, I'll have it for the next time, or you know, it might be useful in another, you know, in another year or for another project or whatever. But I find them really useful to have little bits and pieces like this lying around the place when I find them. Because let's be honest, when we want them, we won't be able to find them. They won't be anywhere in the shops anymore. So get them when you can. That's my advice, especially for stuff like this. Now, if you don't have little bags like this, or you don't want to use little plastic bags, you want to use little paper bags, you can get little sweetie bags or candy bags or whatever off eBay really, really cheaply in all sorts of sizes. You can also get veg-based cellophane, stuff like that. So just look for those things because they're worthwhile having. The other option, of course, is to use some parchment paper or baking paper if you have it, and just make a little parcel around the chocolate part, because that's the most important. You don't want people getting their hands on all of that. You want what you want, you know, you want it, keep it as clean as possible, right? So like I said, there's only 3 packs here, but I'm doing milk chocolate ones and white chocolate ones later on. I just wanted to give you an idea of what you can do, what's possible with what you have around the place already. Now, little peppermint marshmallow sticks are ready to have the sticks put back in, and that's what we're going to do right here, is we're going to put the sticks right in. So it's not fully set, but it is half set and strong enough to hold on. Now for these little hot chocolate cups, we're putting a little bit of melted chocolate on the base of the candy cane and popping it onto the base of the chocolate cup. So, and just holding it there for a couple of seconds while that chocolate sets, enough to hold the candy cane upright. So much easier to do it this way than it is to try and, you know, get them to sit in a pool of molten chocolate. It's not going to work. But this is very much like putting a little bit of melted wax underneath a taper candle to make sure that it sits safely on a plate or something flat, if that's what you're doing with the candle. Same principle. And then in each cup we're going to put a healthy teaspoon, so maybe 1 or 2 teaspoons of your favorite drinking chocolate. Okay, so the spoons are fine to put in a cup of hot milk that you already have, right? So, or you could use in a cup of coffee to make yourself a little mocha. They're safe to have for children so that they could just stir up in some warm milk if you gave them a cup of that. The other little peppermint sticks, they are for if you've got a cup that goes into a microwave, or, you know, just a hot beverage or whatever your milk you have, you can add it to that and it'll be beautiful. These you can do either in your cup of hot milk, or you could put them in a pot if you wanted. They'd also work in a microwave. I wouldn't necessarily give these ones to the kids though. It could be a little bit much for them, especially with the hot chocolate powder as well as the chocolate, but that's entirely up to you. You want to think about your cup when you're putting the marshmallows in and how many marshmallows you would reasonably put in a cup of hot chocolate. Now I know there are people out there like me and my sister who quite happily just pour the bag over the top, you know, but not everyone does that, and while we're doing this you can't, okay? So just be reasonable. Just think reasonably. So once we've put those on, you want to drizzle some more hot chocolate, melted chocolate over the top to hold those marshmallows in place. Now, as much as you can see fancy ones on Pinterest and places like that, they just drizzle the chocolate. That's fine if you're making these for a hot chocolate bar at home. But if you're expecting to give these as gifts and them to be transported either from your home to their home or via post or courier, you really need to make them this way. That way they'll actually survive the trip. Now, it can be easier just to put your chocolate around the outside using a spoon rather than a jug, and since my chocolate was starting to get a bit thick in the jug, as in it was starting to set a bit, it was a lot easier just to put it on via the spoon than pouring it, because otherwise I would have ended up with half a jug of chocolate just poured onto the molds. Now, not having the marshmallows where you can see them leaves you a great excuse for sprinkles. So find a really nice bright set of sprinkles that you can use and just pop them over the top however you want. These are just little plain ones. They're not anything too out of the ordinary. They're just sort of red, green, white with a couple of little gold stars thrown in. I think that's pretty much it. Now, while those are setting, you want to go and get your bowl of broken candy canes, okay? And we're going to break them up into little pieces. Now, I could have put this in my mortar and pestle. I chose not to. I'm just going to use the end of my rolling pin and my metal bowl that I put them in as the mortar and pestle to break them. It's a pain in the bum. If you want to use your food processor, go ahead. If you want to put these in a Ziploc bag and beat the living hell out of them, go ahead, do whatever you want. I just chose to do them this way. I was starting to regret it at this point because they were shooting off all over the place. But you know, it got a little bit of the, frustration of the day out, shall we say. Once your candy canes are broken up and your little peppermint sticks are set, you want to grab one, and this is not how to do it. Now, I did dip it in the chocolate, but I got too much chocolate doing it that way, and I would not suggest doing it this way at all. And you'll see for why, because literally it was just the peppermint pieces were pouring off it. It was really difficult to get them to stay on, but eventually I got it to work, and I did this twice. So then I decided it'd be a really good idea to maybe just get the paintbrush and brush a thin layer of molten chocolate around the outside of the little peppermint sticks, and it worked so much better. It really did. Well, I used a spoon, but it's not too hard to do it that way. You just scrape a little bit on and off, just so that you've got enough there that it's going to stick a few of the little peppermint canes without being a blobby, horrible mess. So once you've got that, you can just roll your peppermint stick in the broken up peppermint. I probably should have broken this up a little bit more, but at this point I was starting to get quite tired and kind of over it, not gonna lie. And before anyone goes off at me about not wearing gloves and stuff like that, I can't wear plastic gloves, not unless I'm dealing with chicken, and I will tolerate plastic gloves. The reason being that the latex actually damages my hands and I have a reaction to it, so I tend not to do it. But I will use it if I'm dealing with raw chicken and I'm having a day where I'm reacting to the chicken, and I'll react to the chicken more than I will that. However, what I do is I wash my hands so many times that my hands start to crack by the end of doing a day job like this, which is partly why I tend to slightly get over it by the end of the day, because I'm just tired and done washing my hands every 30 seconds. And once they're all done, just leave them on the baking tray to set overnight, and they'll be ready to put in little baggies like we did with the spoons. Simple. Now that everything else is setting, we can deal with the big cups, and the big cups are going to have one of our little wooden spoons that has been dipped in chocolate and placed on the other chocolate at the bottom so that it sits safely and will be nice and set. Oh, but you know, there's got to be one in every cook, right? There's always one. But once they're in, and it's just takes that little moment extra for the chocolate to start to set, and your spoons will stay with no problem whatsoever. Now this size of hot chocolate bomb, I'm using real cocoa, and the reason being that these are ones for family use, really. To put in a pot when you're warming the milk through. So they can be done on the stove. They can also be done in a giant 1 pint mug if that's what you wish to do. But yeah, so in each of the cups we're going to put 2 spoons of cocoa powder. Once we've placed all our cocoa powder in our cups, we're going to add a spoon of soft light brown sugar. Yes, we are. We're going to add a 1 spoon of soft light brown sugar, just to bring some of that caramelized molassesy goodness that enriches the chocolate in the mug. Now at this point as well, if you wanted to add a spice blend, I would do that at this point, and I would only put in like half a teaspoon of whatever blend it is that you use, and make sure that they are ground spices, okay, not whole spices. It's not suitable for this, trust me. Ask me how I know. Now into each of these cups at this point, once we've added the sugar, we're going to add a healthy, generous handful of mini marshmallows, because we can, and we're grown-ups, and we should, because it's Christmas. Now it's up to you if you want to use this size marshmallow or a slightly bigger size marshmallow. I wouldn't suggest using bigger marshmallows for stuff like this. It can be a little bit much, and the really, really big ones aren't that great for melting in milk. They tend to not want to melt so well. Now once we've got all our fillings in, we are going to top that with more chocolate, and it's going to be a really beautiful thick layer of chocolate. Okay, you don't want any of that falling out the top, so the whole lot has to be covered. Once that's done, we're going to get some of our fancy sprinkles, and we're going to pop them on top while the chocolate is still melted. Now there are 2 cups that don't have the chocolate on yet. I ran out, so I'm waiting for some to melt, but meanwhile I'm putting the sprinkles on the other ones. Now these are a little bit bigger sprinkles, because obviously this is a fancier, bigger cup. It's not a little spoon, and I wanted to make sure that we had lots of really cool sprinkles on there. Now just shake the cup a bit to make sure that none of the sprinkles are in more than one layer, because they will come off. Okay, we don't want them coming off. We want them to stay where they are on the chocolate, so we don't have floating around sprinkles everywhere in the box when people open them. I wanted to show you guys what it looks like from the top, but my hands were a little bit shaky, so apologies. Hold on to something. It's gonna look like an earthquake anytime soon, but as you can see, it looks amazing. It really does look really, really cool. Apologies for the lack of focus, but I just want to show you very quickly how we got these cups out. Now what we do is we cut 4 slices into the cup and pull the sides down to get these cups out. Now, like I said, you can use a paper cup for this and it will work just as well as the plastic ones. These are just ones that we've had around that I'm just trying to make use of and get rid of. You know, mostly we use them, if we are going to use them, they get used in the garden, they don't get used in the house. But, you know, they came in handy for this. So also while you're doing this, be gentle, but also don't be afraid of it. Because if you become afraid of it, that's when accidents happen. If you're not strong enough with it, it will pull apart. So you want to make sure that it will all come off. So be positive and give it a yank where it needs it. There's a little lip usually at the bottom of these plastic cups, and that's where the issue can lie. Just if you do have a problem like that, just grab the scissors and give it another snip and it'll come off. It won't be a problem. You'll be right. Look, watch. There it goes. Popped straight out. Great. I'm working in the incredibly dark room of my dining room at the moment, so I'm trying really hard to make this so you can see it. But these are some little boxes that I bought that I thought would be perfect for this particular project. Now what I found was really useful is I have some paper muffin cup holders, which are a little bit almost like craft paper thickness, and I thought that they would be really useful to put on the base of the big cups just to hold them in place. Now we've got some others, one of each of the others, all going into this little boxy here because it's cute, and why not? It's Christmas. Now if you don't have a little box like that, that's fine. If you've got card and you want to make a little box like this, it's easy enough. You just won't have the little window on it, which is fine. That's not a problem. No problem at all. I mean, the other options are, if you have those little baskets, up to you. You could even just put it in a little bag or just wrap them up separately. There's nothing wrong with any of that. So just using a few bits that we had around the place anyway, because it's that time of the year that you have a lot of this stuff around, we've ended up making some really nice little packages for people, and it hasn't really cost us a fortune to do it. So just be aware of that when you're, you know, looking at doing handmade gifts and stuff. Doesn't have to cost a fortune to be wonderful. The fact you actually took your time and did it yourself is enough, you know. So don't stress out this season, guys. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. So don't forget that this is part of Collaboration Kids, and go and check in the description below for all of the other participants in this Gifts from the Home collaboration, and go and give them some love because they've done some amazing videos as well. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.